Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is entitled A Time to Harvest. It was written by Brian Sammons, Charles P. Ziglanis, Glenn Owen Barras, and Mike Mason, and it's available on the Chaosium website. Jeff Wilkins is our game master, and this is Chapter 1, Episode 6. I'd like to issue the same warning as last time. There may be some disturbing imagery in this episode, so if you have any objections, switch to something safer. Otherwise, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Jeff?
Thanks, Tom. So real quick recap, mostly from my point of view. Last week we kind of did some funny things with time. So something that may have taken all day, I'm going to probably shorten down. That only took a few hours. And this episode, I might have to do a little stretching, but we'll get around it, I'm sure. We mostly had the folklorist group talking with some of the townsfolk. You talked to, I believe, the reporter, Wendell, and you had a run-in with the deputy, to which Tug sort of bleh.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse, the deputy reminded you all that there is a missing young girl around town. So he was sort of asking you all for help in some way, basically just to keep your eye out. But then you all sort of I think it hit Tug that maybe she's in danger with the monkey men. And then I think we pretty much ended the episode by cutting to the geologist group. And after setting up and doing the dig, they came across a strange rock, like a blackish rock with some greenish iridescent to it when you hold it up, and it catches the light just the right way. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to kick off back with the geologist group. And I want to stress now, I didn't really do it last time, but now that Wayne's here and Charlie's here, I want to stress now that today is actually the third day of the outing, and today is the day of the storm, the rainstorm.
Okay.
So you have looming clouds. And in fact, the geologist, it has actually started raining already. So you guys are kind of wet and miserable and cold, and you don't have a lot to show for it except for this strange little rock. Anything anybody wants to do?
So far, all we found is just common rocks. And
well, you said that we found a strange little rock. Could you describe it a bit more?
Yeah, so I think it was, what did we say, Tom? Was it Rod that found it initially?
It was Rod that found it.
It was Rod that found it. And there was I think there were survey notes for the piece of rock, weren't they? It was harder than diamond.
Harder than diamond.
It was composed of green and black.
Since I wasn't here, was anybody else able to identify it?
No,
nobody so far can recognize it.
Should I roll a geology roll?
Sure. And then, of course, what that picture doesn't show is that the green only shows up when you catch the light. So at first glance, it just looks like a black rock.
I got a 96, so I have no idea.
It's a rock.
It is. So it's harder than. So it's harder than diamond.
Yeah, when we did a Mohs test on it. It also didn't have any reaction to acid or base. Is that correct? We did some chemical tests.
Yeah.
What type of acid did you use?
Well, I intended to do chemical testing. Did that ever happen?
I think we can say, because I give you a pretty good amount of information, so I think we can say that it did.
I think I recall rolling really well, but I wasn't sure which information derived from the chemical test.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed to be impervious, yeah.
I mean, what type of acid did you use? Like sulfuric, folic?
Just whatever they would use.
Okay. I mean, it depends.
I would have run, assuming all the standard types of acid would accompany a sort of traveling test kit.
Right.
I would have started with the one I thought was least destructive,
Okay.
and then proceeded from there. And I assume that nothing damaged the rock in any way, correct?
Right.
Well, that's also a possibility that there's a lot of substances that when you put acid on them, they would normally react with the acid, but you have to scratch past the surface layers, and we can't scratch it.
So, for example, so here's a question: even if it wasn't scratched, if it contained any type of calcium carbonate, it should fizz in contact with any acid at all.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard if it was calcium carbonated.
Right. So I assume it doesn't fizz or show any reaction to acid whatsoever?
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have a field microscope that we could look at?
Yeah, we looked in it last time.
Oh, did we? It was crystalline, wasn't it? Of some
Yes.
sort?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's getting dark and it's sprinkling. Do you guys think that we should head back?
If we're going to run any more tests than this, we'll need better equipment.
But it's like we just got here, didn't we? How long have we been here, Jeff?
Right. So what I'm going to say is, I think you guys got a fairly early start anyway. So that was actually going back to the previous episode, where you encountered the mole creatures.
Okay.
And that was very early. That was like at dawn, I believe. So you guys have been up since dawn, and then all of that happened. Things sort of calmed down. So I'm going to say you kind of like got back on the road around 8 or 9 o'clock, and now you've been digging for a couple hours, but now the rain's starting to pick up.
Okay.
Well, however long we've been here, Harry, it's too long. We'll be digging in mud before we find anything of use.
Yeah. Well, I say that we stay until that becomes the situation where it's no longer possible to continue. We can still get some rock samples from the overlying crags right there and those rocks, but that's a damn weird rock. And where, we could go back to the spot where you found it and see if we can find any more of it.
Well, that was my plan. I mean, if I can find some evidence of a vein or some of it in situ in the bedrock, I mean, it's interesting, and it's an unusual thing to find. But I mean, to be honest with you, on its own like that, just finding a little rock like that in the ground, I mean, that's just an interesting curiosity.
Yeah.
If I can't contextualize it, then it's of no use geologically, is it? I mean,
I just thought of something though, technically, that stone has got to be awfully old, because if it's harder than diamond, how is it smooth and round? You know what I mean? It must have been worn down by erosion, but crystals aren't smooth.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's.
I hope I'm not going beyond what.
Should it even be that close to the surface?
Well, where did you find the rock?
Even still, yeah. Can we go over to the area where you found it, Just where?
Yes, I found it over there.
Here.
And I gesture hence.
The area that he's pointing to, does it look like it might have been a riverbed of some sort in the past?
I'm going to say no, but you guys are. I'm going to say you're fairly close to like what would be considered the foothills of the mountains.
Okay.
There would be a little piece of cane with a piece of paper on the top.
Oh, that's right. You did put a little marker.
A little marker that would show.
Well, if we're at the foot of the hills, I'm wondering if this could have been something pushed along by glaciation, in prehysteria, and it's just a rock, and that would definitely eventually smooth it out, that it was crushed underneath
That would explain it, but I have to say I'm still somewhat taken aback by the idea of suddenly finding a new
element,
a new unknown element in Vermont. I mean, does that sound at all credible to you?
I just think that it's unfortunate that your name is Jasper and that name has already been taken as far as a kind of rock.
My name
I
is
think
Rod.
you gentlemen are getting ahead of yourselves.
We call it price.
After all,
Am I not? I'm sorry. I thought I was Rod at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
that guy
I'm-
Jasper. He's already.
I'm Rod at the moment, Harry.
Rhodium has also been taken. So,
well, before you start coming up with other clever names like Rodite, maybe we should get the specimen back to where we can do more proper testing.
let's see if we can find any more of it anywhere. But then we should be going because it's starting to rain. It's getting.
If I was going to give the element any name, I'd name it after my nickname that everyone calls me by, which is Huge Rod.
Yeah, you keep saying that.
That's what everyone calls me.
That's not what I heard.
Just what Tug calls you. So is that what we're going to do? Just a
So
little-
let me ask a question here, and I'm not trying to lead you at all with this. You guys have been very open about this whole discovery, right? Like Blaine is here with you, so you're not trying to hide this from him at all, right?
Oh
what's
no,
he gonna
I'm a geology student. I mean, this is going to look great for me. I've just found this unusual stone. It's all the attention's on me. I'm probably going to be able to use this as part of my field work. Maybe even something towards my dissertation at the end of this all. So yeah, I'm keen for everyone to know that I've found this.
Nice.
Reflects very well on me.
And is Blaine right up with us, or is he with his?
Oh yeah, he's been looking over your shoulder and poking his nose in, and in fact, what he's going to do. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to speed up time a little bit. Go ahead, Jerry.
Before you speed up time,
Yep.
the only other test, I'm actually looking through some little images of what a field kit from this period might have contained. So aside from the various acids and things that are manifestly useless, there could be little devices for possibly heating a substance.
Okay.
So assuming it's not already too sodden, we're in the tent, right? It's not leaky, right? It's not wet in the tent. I'd like to try to heat the rock.
It's a little dangerous inside the tent, though, isn't it? We could wait until
In
we
this
get back
weather?
to the house.
Well, I'm all for waiting. I'm all for going back to the house, but
You don't want
might
to.
as
You let carbon monoxide build up inside the tent.
Oh, and here I thought you were excited to go dig in the mud. Well,
No. Before the mud, but now it's mud, so I don't want to dig anymore.
I'm persuaded. Let's pack it up.
All right. It'll make it easier tomorrow when we dig because the ground will be softer. All right.
Always the optimist, Harry. Okay.
Jeff, you were.
If only it wasn't so hard, I could dig a hole in it and wear it around my neck so everyone could know I found it.
Are you holding on to it then, Rod?
Yeah, it's his.
Well, I mean, at the moment, I'm just having a look at it, but I freely acknowledge that it's it's essentially it's the property of science.
Yeah, that's a good question because you're
It
technically
belongs
on
to
this-
science, unless it's worth
Yeah.
money, in which case I found it.
I mean, you are on the school outing, but the school has been subsidized by the Federated Chemical and Oil.
It's his for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hanging on to it because I'll tell you what, fellas, right? I went with some of the other boys from the football team, and we've been going out on a Saturday morning to go and see the Rin Tin Tin pictures, the serials, right? and they're all about a big chemical company buying up property and forcing ranchers out. I know what they're like. I'm gonna hold on to this. I don't want those fellas to have it.
Fine thinking, Rod. After
This
all, if
belongs to science.
if it's in a serialized Saturday morning picture, it's reliable evidence.
Of course, imagine if you've discovered a brand new element, you could have your name forever on the elemental table of elements, the periodic table of elements. All right. Jeff.
Yes, so what's going to happen is we're going to speed up time a little bit. You guys are still doing what you're doing. You're researching it. You're looking into it further. Lewis is running the tests.
Well, if they dither, then I'll definitely run whatever tests, regardless of spurious concerns about carbon monoxide. If it matters what kind of tests are being run, in addition to trying to heat the substance, apparently, according to what I'm seeing here, this kit is likely to contain various litmus papers, so I can see what it might leave on litmus paper or how litmus paper might react to it. I can put it into contact with different powders in different stages of heat, borax powder, silver powder. There are different oxides like antimony. I'm not going to taste it in case anyone actually suggests that in character. Let's see. Yeah, there's like several oxides, several acids, as mentioned, sulfuric, hydrochloric, nitrate. There's alcohol, if it reacts to alcohol. And
I react to alcohol.
So we've all heard, Harry, sometimes from you, with the help of the alcohol. That's really about it. I mean, unless we want to try and literally like smash it, which we don't want to do, or smoke it, which we don't want to do.
If that's even possible.
Yeah, I'm not trying. So
the only question I would have is, do the green striations, do they have the same hardness as the rest of it? Are they chemically and behaviorally? That behaviorally isn't the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Performatively similar.
Yeah, I'm going to say, for the sake of argument, yeah, there's no other alternative reaction to that section.
Okay.
So we've spent some time obviously testing it and figure out what it is.
Charlie, I know you're a geology student too. Is there anything else specific you wanted to do?
Well, while we were out here, I mean, I would have done my own research, but I would also be actively looking for signs of the missing students from the previous year. I don't know if they've been to this part of this field, but that's what I would also be looking for.
Yeah, okay. That's a good point. I'll say that maybe that came up in previous conversation, and what you know is that Blaine has intentionally not taken you to that location.
I would do a psychology roll on Blaine to see if he's actually trying to hide something. Like, because he was there the previous year, right?
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't.
He was supposed to be there, but he wasn't.
He was supposed to. Where was he, though?
He actually, the night before, he went out and he got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And he slipped and fell on his apartment steps and he broke his arm.
Sure he did. Does he have a doctor's note?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have seen it.
Oh, he's
all
been
him
checked
walking
over.
around. Yeah.
He was checked. Okay. I don't know about that guy. He's trying to probably put the ruse on that girl. And
He is. They're snogging right over there.
No, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the one that was missing.
The girl who's mentally handicapped?
No, the very first girl who was still.
Oh, I see. You mean, yeah, what's her name?
From the previous year.
Daphne Devine.
That's the one.
Lewis is studiously ignoring their humor and poor taste and running extra tests, even rerunning the same tests to avoid this appalling conversation.
Okay.
I'm going to run through the standard battery of tests with the geological tuning forks, and then somehow try to make sense of what I've done.
Trying to talk to it.
Well, I mean, I know that
Actually,
I find myself in a problematic position as a player because I know that geologists do things involving tuning forks.
that's not a
But
bad.
I'm not entirely sure what it is they're trying to actually ascertain.
Have you guys tested to see if it reacts to sonic pressure or waves?
No. We're in the field.
No, only
We don't have
magnetic.
much.
Well, we'd have a couple of tuning forks. Geologists always have tuning forks.
Right. Let's see if
Do I have actually access to the rock in front of me as we're all sitting here?
It's there on the desk in front of us
I'm going to reach down and pick it up really quick and lick it.
in a petri dish.
Do I taste anything? Is it salt? Or does it have no flavor whatsoever? Because some geologists do taste rocks. You can tell if it's got a salt content or a...
It tastes of my pockets.
I will say this, and I can't recall if I mentioned it. I think I did mention it last week, but I don't expect you to remember it. But
It has a...
What?
It leaves a greasy residue.
Oh, yeah. So I greased my tongue.
you had that. Yeah.
So any particular flavor? Acrid? Or
Earwig.
Vermonti.
Well, it has a weird flavor.
Weird how?
In the same way that Jeff just told me. It's weird. I have no idea.
Actually, I guess I didn't hear that.
Oh,
What did you say?
He didn't say anything.
It has a weird Vermonti.
Vermont.
Vermonti, yeah.
Oh, Vermonti. Okay, that's what I didn't hear.
Just tastes like Vermont, so it came from here. Certainly Massachusettsy.
Yeah, Charlie, to get to your question
Scientific testing at its finest.
about the sound, there's nothing unusual about it. It doesn't react to the sound in any way.
Well, we can't do a fluorescent test because we don't have a fluorescent light, but we can do that later. I wonder if it glows in the dark. Can you, see if it glows in the dark?
Yep, does not.
I'm
I'm going to stop you now because I keep trying to get this out and get cut off. Now we can come back to it, but that's fine. But what I'm saying is, so now it's pouring rain. I mean, it's coming down by the bucketfuls. And Blaine is looking around. He's, Morrow has sunk. You guys are like drowned rats at this point.
Right.
But Blaine's like, you know what? I saw a house on the way here, a couple miles down the road. You guys wait here. I'm going to hit the house and see if they probably have a telephone. I'm going to call back to our house and see if the folklore students have returned. And if they're back, we're going to head back.
Okay.
And if they're not back, we're going to stay here and drown in the tent.
Is Joe going to drive you over to that farmhouse?
I'll just walk. I jog every morning, so it's no big deal. I'll just walk. You guys wait in the trucks. Try to get warm. Try to dry off, and I'll be back.
But if you
I'm gonna start packing this stuff away because the last thing we want is this equipment getting damaged.
If you jog every morning, I hope you'll jog now. Look, the tent is already leaking.
Let's just get everything packed up and ready to go so that we don't have to. We can spend the least amount of time in the rain as possible. I don't want to get stuck here all night.
that sounds ideal. So I started packing up the test kit.
And to make it go easier, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya.
Joe offers anybody a little sip if they want any.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big tough football player. I'm definitely gonna have a bit of that.
Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling.
Reinforce my fragile masculinity with alcohol.
Harry, I am rarely glad to be without a keyboard, but given your choice of him, this is one of those occasions.
I've heard you play. We're not going to do anything by Franz Liszt or Brachmaninoff. Oh, wait a second.
I'm gonna wrap the stone in my. I'm gonna wrap the stone in my handkerchief and stick it into my pocket.
Okay.
For safekeeping.
Yep. All right, we're going to cut back.
Do I see him wrap it in a handkerchief and stick it in his pocket for safekeeping?
Oh yeah, I'm making no attempt to do it secretly. Yes, I'm doing it quite openly.
If you insist on carrying it around in your shirt pocket, couldn't you at least find one with a button?
Well, I just thought it'd be safer here with me than it would be left on its own here at the dig. You know,
what about properly?
Pilfering's not unknown in these regions. You know.
I realize this might be an unusual suggestion where specimens are concerned, but what about properly sealing it in a suitable container for transporting a specimen? Maybe you geologists do things differently than chemists, I realize.
It's wet.
Well,
Sorry.
yes, I'm just at the moment I'm just intent on just keeping it safe, and I think the best way to keep it safe is to keep it with me. I don't want some professor coming by and picking it up and taking credit for it.
Let him keep his rock.
Yeah, I mean, if I've got my name on a new element,
well, we all must admit
kind of tough to call me a dumb jock, then, isn't it?
Well, we all must admit that you seem to keep hold of the pigskin fairly well. You can probably keep hold of that, at least in the ride in the car.
I am, even if I say so myself, a master of the great sport of hand egg.
We call it pigskinium.
Armored rugby.
All right.
Pigskinium. Okay.
We're going to cut back to the folklorist group. So sort of kind of rewinding time a little bit. You guys, I think, last left off by talking with the newspaper reporter.
And then we ran into the detective.
Yeah.
I keep calling him the detective, the deputy. We ran into the deputy, and then we wanted to go get something to eat, and it sounded like you suggested that we actually ran into the priest or the preacher or the minister on the way to get something to eat.
No, I think
but I wasn't sure if that actually happened. What?
So the suggestion of eating something, that's where I'm going to tell you to ignore time. So, like, it actually it's not dinner time. It's like barely, not even lunchtime yet.
So let's go by the First Baptist Church of the Divine Ascension.
Okay. Can I also ask, there was talk after the windows got broken at the house.
Mm-hmm.
There was talk of repairing it, or...
Right.
We don't need to spend a lot on that, but I'm just curious, were you intending on repairing it, like fixing it by putting new glass in? Or...
No, we had this morning, Joe drove some of the other students to get supplies so that they could just put boards over the windows, because I think reglazing them would be rather difficult to do.
We board them up and
board them up to keep the monsters
tell
in.
the owner of the house that there had been an accident. I think that's
yeah.
Okay.
There's only a couple of the windows, right, that got broken.
Yeah, although I think there's only a couple windows in the house. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was the back window and the front window, basically.
We just want to keep the mole men out.
Okay, so the intent was to get wood, some sort of boards, and
Planks.
and block them off. Okay. I don't think
Tug. Stop saying mole men.
Monkey mole men. I know.
Just say animals or creatures. Just stop saying mole men.
All right.
Because it makes us sound like we're crazy.
Okay.
Oh, drop bears.
I won't.
Yes, Tug, you might consider sticking with mole or very large mole.
But they weren't moles; they were mole men. Well, I won't say anything.
Just say men.
I'll just say animals.
Well, that seems fair. I don't even know what kind of animal they are.
We don't need to. I don't think you mentioned something about Joe. I don't think Joe needs to do that because you guys are in town. You already have a car. So Joe basically, he did the geologist student. So he did.
Okay. I thought we did all that this morning before we went anywhere.
Well, okay, yeah. So we can just say that, or if you want to include that in like this, where you actually have to go to the general store, that's up to you. You want to just say you did that already?
Maybe at some point we'll drop back by the house. I don't know how far it is outside of town. It's just
maybe 10 miles, if that.
We might run over there to freshen up, and if we don't like the job they did fixing up the walls, then we'll go back out and get more supplies. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So consensus is to go to the church, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But we will need more light inside. So maybe we'll pick up a couple of lanterns at the store for light inside. Because if the windows are all blocked off, it's going to be dark inside, even in the daytime. All right. So, yeah, let's go over to the Baptist church.
Okay. It's a nice whitewashed single room church. Of course, there's nobody around now because I believe I lost track of the day.
Well,
Monday?
It's late Sunday. So he may have been here this morning and then, went with somebody to their house. Are you saying the preacher's not there?
Well, I'm just saying right now it looks like there's no action.
Okay.
So what would you like to do?
Having dinner with somebody or lunch.
What would you like to do?
Are you that hungry, Tug? It's about the third time you've mentioned lunch this morning.
I'm actually not, because I got those shots, and that was gross. I don't want to get rabies.
Well, that is why the doctor gave you the shots, Tug.
Well, there's nobody here, I guess, so... I mean, let's walk around to the back of the church and see if there's like I don't know what you call it, a rectory where the priest lives, and see if he's there, or preacher, sorry.
Yeah, well, we could have a look, but it's Vermont on a Sunday.
Yeah, and it's afternoon, so it is afternoon, right, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like late morning.
And there's nobody at the church on a Sunday.
Well,
I don't think
services here are either.
I think it's Monday. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we won't. If you want it to be Monday, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So it's Monday. So yeah, he's probably at home or doing whatever preachers do when they're not preaching.
Well, maybe we can.
He might not live at the church. He might live in his own house.
Maybe we can find out where home is.
Well, let's find out what his name is. There should probably be a sign on the church that says, Reverend Glenn, whatever. And
don't they normally live quite near the church, like one of these houses nearby here?
Could be anywhere in town, but yeah. Is the church locked up?
You trying the door?
Just, yeah, pull on the door.
Yeah, no, it opens.
Oh. Well, look inside.
Yep. You see, it's very small. There's about 8 pews on each side. Nice, walkway down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman, roughly 40s, up, and it looks like he's up by the altar. And then there's a young woman and a boy.
And Jeff, did the sign say anything about the Reverend?
That's a good question. I'm sure it probably did. Yeah, I would think that the name of the Reverend might be on there. Reverend Wilson, Earl Wilson. And he catches your eye. You heard the door open. He looks up and he looks at the group of you and he kind of raises an eyebrow. He's like, "Yes, can I help you?" Well,
Good morning. And Jeff, does this man look like he's attired in any special way? I mean,
No,
I know
not
the
really.
Reverends wouldn't always. Good morning. We are looking for Reverend Wilson.
Yes, that's me.
It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Jerry Dorn. This is my colleague Tug Thompson and Jasper Price. We are students from Miskatonic University in Arkham. We're here doing some research on local lore and legendary, and, well, we thought you might be the man to help share some of your local traditions.
William's with us too, isn't he? He
Yes.
just never says anything, at least not until this week.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right. William, come on inside. The Reverend is here, after all.
Don't be frightened. He's a redhead.
He kind
Although,
of,
as far as we know, he's not a stepchild.
he's not sure. You can see there's a little bit of confusion on his face. He's like, "Yeah, sure. Come on in. Have a seat."
We don't want to interrupt.
Thank you, Reverend.
Anything.
And the other two, basically what's going on right now is they all have like little cleaning rags, so they're like basically just cleaning things.
I'm just going to, at this point, I'm just going to kind of shuffle in and sit down nervously with the others because I'm not terribly confident when it comes to talking to authority figures. Being only 19, I'm still sort of in awe of, well, anything outside of Dunton, Colorado, to be honest.
And this gentleman, the Reverend, he's kind of he's not necessarily tall, but he stands with authority.
Mm-hmm.
He's up on his little elevated platform already, so he's taller than everybody in the room just by default. But he's also carrying himself in a way that he's important.
Well, thank you for taking the time, Reverend.
Yeah, sure. Come on in. I mean, it's raining out there. Get yourself dry. So what was the question? You're looking for folklore?
Oh, that's right. We're anthropology students, and most of us specialize in folklore. And over at the library, they mentioned that you, well, of course, you'd know almost everyone in town, and probably recall various local traditions, and maybe even have some insight into what people might really be referring to with some of their more unusual and exotic tales.
We're collecting stories for our school projects.
Well, the answers you're looking for are not there. You don't want to be dealing with that sort of stuff. There's nothing but trouble down that road. You want to be on the straight and narrow path. Are you guys around next Sunday? You guys should come to my service.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Reverend. I'm not sure that we'll still be here. We may be headed back to the university. It somewhat depends on our geological colleagues there, doing some excavations and field testings.
And we don't believe any of these crazy stories. We just, like I say, it's like fiction. We're just collecting the information. Because, you know, we heard you guys have some really interesting stories.
Well, I try not to pay too much heed to him. The devil works in mysterious ways, and he will do anything to get the town going and gossip and all of that. So I try not to get too involved with that. I just try to preach the good word here.
Well, do you think the devil is very active in the town?
The devil is active everywhere in this world, yes.
Well, we did hear some. Well, we did hear some rather troubling stories. Apparently, people. Well, some people seem to think that the devil dwells in the woods outside the town. Are there old tales about that?
And you can see him thinking, and well, I mean, people say things all the time. I don't doubt it. I've heard of strange things as far as witches and who knows. I don't know.
Witches? Well, that's astonishing. I thought that witches were driven out of these parts centuries ago.
I mean, they might have been back then, but they just have a way of creeping up again whenever you let your guard down.
Oh. So would you say that there's witchcraft still practiced here today?
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm not going to point the finger and say so-and-so is or so-and-so was, but I mean, evil is all around us. You have to protect yourself. You have to make sure you get your butt into church and read the good word and protect yourself.
Well, are most people here in Cobb's Corners faithful church-going folk?
I don't have any specific numbers, but I would say for the most part, this is a good town. I'm sure I'd like to see some people in here more than what they can get here, but yeah, I mean, I'd like the whole town to be here every Sunday, but so far that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do.
We were also wondering if you had seen or lately Emily Brainswaith. She's missing. You heard?
Yeah, I did hear. That's a sad thing.
We're kind of keeping our eye out for her.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We just ran into the deputy on our way here. He seemed alarmed. She's been missing for some time. He asked if we, while we made our rounds, we would ask after her.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, I hate to think that she's out there in this weather. I mean, I hope she's okay.
I guess if you're not, if you're reluctant to tell us any stories, then we can go elsewhere. You're obviously busy.
Sure. Yeah, if you're still here on Sunday, come on back.
Can I just kind of ask you a question? I think I know the answer, but what do you think of Richard Wendell, the guy at the Gazette?
What do I think of him? I think he should get his butt into church.
Okay.
You think if he did, he'd print less about the Bat Boy?
Yeah, he might print more truthful things.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Reverend, and I hope we are still here next Sunday. If we'll, of course, need to just to complete our project, we will in the intervening time probably need to go back to the library or well, or even the Gazette and go through the archives. Is there anything truthful we should look for? Maybe not of course, fabulous tales about the devil, real though he be, but anything more edifying that we should look for in annals of the town's news. We are after all a type of historian. You see, we're just a historian of less well recorded events.
Yeah, you can see he's kind of glazing over a little bit.
Okay.
In other words, he really just doesn't care, and it's obvious he doesn't care?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep, sure. Come back.
And as we go out, I say, I'm going to church next Sunday. I'm a Unitarian.
As we go a little... as we go a little farther, I'd probably respond, next Sunday or ever. What a lot of superstitious nonsense.
Let's go head over to...
Crack of lightning goes off.
Yeah. Let's go head over to that store. I think it was called Carner's Goods.
Crack of lightning, if that's the best he can do, I'd say the God of the Bible has poor aim. I'm sorry, Tug. What did you say? The thunder of the divine was a bit loud.
It's just thunder.
Did you guys talk to the reporter yet?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, he was.
He showed us pictures of the Bat Boy.
Yes, he has a prolific imagination.
He didn't even play baseball. Just was a bat boy flying in the sky. We think it was a dragon because it had a tail.
It did look much more draconic than anything else. Here, I drew a sketch. I show Charlie the sketch.
Yeah.
I must say, gentlemen, I take umbrage with your usage of the word "we."
Well, it looked to me like a cloud passing in front of the moon.
Oh hell, guys! It was just a big owl or something.
Maybe.
Jasper, that looks nothing like an owl.
Probably the greater horned owl.
Huh? No, it could have been an owl, but it had a snake in its hands, and that's what looked like a tail.
Hands. Well, Tug, are you? If it has hands, are you sure it wasn't an owl man?
It was. I'm just going to shake my head and walk away. So we got to go all the way uptown to get to the store.
Jeff, is it raining? It's not raining here yet, is it?
Yes, yeah. I'm going to say by now it's raining and it's coming.
Okay, I make sure to put the sketchbook away before it gets soggy.
Okay.
I've brought my oilskins with me. I was being prepared.
And where did you say we're headed? To the store to get lights?
Yeah, we're running up to Main. We got to walk over to Main Street and then go all the way up Main Street to Davenport, and then it's on the corner of Davenport and Raleigh.
I think it's all swamp gas, because around here in Vermont, it's riddled with old mine shafts, and these gases all start right. You breathe in the gases, and you start seeing like crazy things.
Do you think we might have taken some ourselves?
Well, I think we might have inhaled it and seen a dog, and imagined that we saw the dog, and it was some monster.
But what accounts for the knife wound? I mean, no claw did that.
Yeah, but I mean, someone falls onto a stone, and
speaking of stones, Jasper, don't you still have the flint?
And
well, I do still have it. Yes, and I mean, it does look like it's been. Well, that's a good question, actually. Does it look like it's been napped?
Yes.
It does. So it's actually been napped and made into a tool rather than just being an opportunist find of an edged thread.
So unless the swamp gas is accelerating the evolutionary development of the mole people.
See,
If
guys?
there's swamp gas, it's not relevant.
See, this morning it was here, and now it's slowly moving like this. And Tug
What,
is
the
doing
cloud?
that. No, the story. The story is now moving into legend. We're explaining it away, what actually happened.
This isn't legend, Tug. This is science.
Science for a minute, and then it turns into legend. So we're going
Well,
down.
let's try and
We're getting
if it's here now and it's drifting this way, let's try to keep it here before it drifts into legend, or else by next Sunday morning we might as well attend the local Baptist church.
Jeez, Tug, I keep telling you, you're not going to get any course credits for reading Joseph Campbell. You're wasting your time.
But he's awesome.
Don't need that stuff.
Let's get some lamps, some lanterns. William, you don't say much.
Nah, Jerry does all the talking for me.
How did you feel when we went into that church?
I don't like churches.
Well, I mean, because you're redheaded, you don't actually have a soul.
And I don't smile when you say that. I give you this sort of straight, dead look.
All right. Let's go over to Carner's.
Carner's Goods. Old-fashioned, quite long but very narrow wooden building. Home to the local general store. Immediately beyond the front door sits one of the Carner family. Behind is a short table with an old cash register at one end. Shelves are lined with goods comprising most of the store. Hemp bags are full of grain. Feed are piled up to the far right of the entrance. Behind the counter, there's a section where they try to keep the kids away, meaning there's a little display of candy and toys.
Oh.
And in addition to that, probably what you were thinking, there are a few firearms for sale.
Oh.
I wasn't thinking of that.
Okay. All right.
I was thinking something else.
Not in this town. Come on.
Hey, you never know.
There's perverts everywhere.
And
It's the dangerous goods like French letters and pomade.
There you go.
And the door has the old little bell that hangs on it. So when you walk in, it rings a bell, and Mr. Carner looks up. Yes.
Hello.
Come on in out of that storm.
Hi. We're from the we're some of the students that are staying at that old house. Did you hear about us?
It's going around town. I've heard about you guys. Yep.
There's
What can I get you?
well, some of the windows got broken, and I think they've boarded them closed. But now we need some light in there. Do you have any lanterns?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Does he show me where they are?
Yeah. He'll take you to them. You're gonna probably need some fuel for that too, right?
Oh yeah.
You have pipe tobacco and matches, things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd like to get some candles, some sort of sensible dried foods for just in case we run out of supplies for a few days. Just a couple of days worth, and some matches.
Does he have any hunting knives in here?
Sure. Yep.
I'll grab one of those.
When no one's looking, I'm going to buy a really massive bar of chocolate as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to stick it straight in my jacket.
You did say buy, not steal.
No, I'm gonna buy it. I don't. I don't want the others to see me buying kids stuff like chocolate and stuff.
Okay.
It's embarrassing.
Sure. Yeah,
Really,
so
I should be playing this character with
I'm
a very
gonna buy-
high-pitched
I'm gonna
voice,
buy
but I've
chocolate.
tried and I literally can't produce those sounds.
That's-
So
I'm going to buy some chocolate and some candy and all sorts of sweet goodies or whatever. I'm going to openly do it and place it on the counter alongside with the honey nut.
next to the honey nut.
Yep.
Okay.
Redheads don't have any souls, but we need plenty of chocolate and goodies.
Yes, you need to leave that for us.
You guys have souls, remember? You don't.
To all of our listeners, I have nothing against redheads. I actually rather my mother was a redhead. So
to all of our listeners, I live in Scotland. I am deeply, 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 deeply sorry.
Yeah, so Mr. Carner is actually glad to see you all because you're giving him some nice business. So he's very helpful to you, offering you, whatever you want. If you don't have it, you don't need it.
So, Mr. Carner, I think we're going to take all this stuff, although I think we want to look around a little bit because it's raining outside.
Mm-hmm.
We're folklore students from Miskatonic, and we've been sort of collecting stories around the towns. We've been hearing about, vampires and things that live out in the woods that, some of the, and people disappearing. And do you got any cool stories? Because we're like working on this for our classes.
You said the woods, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got lots of woods around here.
And he says, watch out for them rats. Those things are everywhere in those woods. They're big, they're brown, and I've seen them leaping from tree to tree like monkeys. They're the ugliest rodents I've ever seen. And don't even think about trapping them because with that foul fur, the meat, it's disgusting. Damn nuisances. I think they've been breeding in the old McLaren farmhouse. And then when you kids moved in, you probably chased them off.
I'm looking at
somebody tried to eat one. I think we saw a few. In fact, more than saw. We were walking out in the woods and got scratched up and bit. Not too bad, but pretty bad. They scampered off. I actually thought I shot one, but I couldn't be sure, and I didn't really want to go looking for it. You say they taste bad? Somebody tried to hunt them? And at this point, I'm looking at the hunting supplies and rifles and ammunition.
Yeah, not me personally, just from what I heard of other people around town say. I wouldn't even think of putting something like that in my mouth.
Well, I guess the feeling's not mutual. They didn't exactly get a chunk, but they certainly got a good bite in. Are they? Anyone else say they're pretty fierce?
Yeah, I mean, you be careful out there. I heard somebody say they'll eat you in your sleep. So,
well, there'd have to be a fair number of them to do that, wouldn't there?
What? Who else has seen them?
I can't think of any names come to mind. It's just things you pick up around the store, people chit-chatting and talking.
Wow.
Well, what do you have in the way of guns and ammunition? I think I'm the only one who came thinking maybe to do any hunting. But if they're all that fierce, we're in two groups. There's us who do folklore, and then there's some science types. And they're out in the hills. Maybe it would do to have one or two more firearms. What do you recommend?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, you never know what you're going to run into out there in the woods. There might be bears too.
Yeah, the deputy mentioned the bears. Well, what do you suggest from your stock here?
Yeah, so he will show you basically whatever you are looking for. He will have, except just keep in mind it's a small store, so if there's a hunting rifle,
smaller than hunting rifles.
We also don't have thousands of dollars in our pockets either.
Right. Yeah, he's got maybe like 1 or 2 pistols and maybe 1 or 2 hunting rifles. Charlie, did you say something? I'm sorry.
With a credit rating of, well, Tom said we don't have thousands of dollars, and so with a credit rating of 10, what can I afford?
10 times 5.
Nothing.
Credit rating of
10
10?
times 5? Or what?
Well, the sheet says 10. I think the determination was that my family's wealthy, but my stipend is limited.
10 is like poor.
It would be 10 times 50 would be your sort of spending limit, except you're not in the city where you have access to the bank.
And we are in the 30s, right? So Great Depression.
Right. So we got a couple of bucks in our pockets.
I don't even know if I can afford all this candy.
Any other stories you know about? Things going on? Crazy vampires, or I mean, there's all sorts of stories like things. I'm very nervous at this moment because they eat you in your sleep.
Hey, I bet though if you had a couple of good plot hounds or maybe some good solid Airedales, like some big oolong Airedales, I reckon you could tree those things and just shoot them kind of easy. That'd be a swell kind of hunt. Have any of the local fellas gone out and hunted them like that with the dogs? I mean, how do the dogs react to them?
Dogs don't act well. They get all jittery and they tend to bark at butterflies. I mean, it's, you know, there's some younger guys that may have gone out for the fun of it, but usually they come back either scared or just saying we're never doing that again.
So these critters are on the small size, right?
No, he said they were big rats.
Well, big for rats, small for bears, right? Well, is there anything, you know, a lot bigger? We saw some tracks around the house where we were staying, and, well, the small tracks seem like they're these varmints you're talking about, but I saw some tracks that were much bigger, and they were not bear tracks. What else is out there that's big?
Bigger than a bear, you're saying?
I don't know if it's bigger than a bear, but it's for sure bigger than the giant rats or whatever they are.
Do you ever get any sightings of that big hairy man out here? What did the thing the Indians call Oma, the hairy man in the woods? You got any stories of that?
I'm gonna go over and look out the window at the rain.
It's coming down.
Up in Canada, they call him the Samsquamch or something like that.
I think I've heard of that. I don't think I've heard of it around here, but I don't know.
Well, is there anything you've heard of around here that's bigger than the rats?
I mean, not what you're suggesting. You're talking about footprints and all.
Oh, I don't know what I'm suggesting. We all study different things. I guess Jasper likes native folk tales. I'm just interested in, well, more natural things, like these strange rats you have. But I'm sure I saw larger tracks, and I have some experience with hunting and tracking, but I didn't recognize them. I just wondered if there was anything else strange hereabouts.
Nothing comes to mind. I mean, you hear all sorts of things, but nothing that I can think of off the top of my head.
Guys, let's just get our stuff and go.
Well, thanks for showing me the selection. I think if we want to arm up, we'll have to come back maybe with the graduate student who's running this whole expedition. He may have more funding for emergency supplies like extra weaponry. But I sure appreciate your time and a little while spent out of the rain. How's it looking out there, Tug?
It's still raining. I mean, well, ask Jeff. Jeff, how does it look out there? Is it pouring?
Yeah, it's coming down like cats and dogs, as they say.
Well, is it about time? Can we head to the restaurant? That's up the street.
Yeah, I won't stop you, but I will say,
Still
like,
early.
you're probably, like, it's not good canvassing time. Like, you know, you're not going to be catching people out and about, that sort of thing.
Well, speaking of the weather out there, I sure do hope they find that young lady soon. What was her name? Emily?
Emily, yeah.
Emily Braithwaite.
Mhm.
You heard any news?
I have not, no, unfortunately.
So we went to the Baptist church. We went to we haven't gone to the sheriff's station, but we don't like the sheriff. We've been to the Gazette. We've been to the library. We haven't gone to the school, but why at this point? We've been to Carner's Goods. We got Jim's Grill, and we've got our place back wherever. Should we take all the supplies back to our...
Well, we certainly don't want to have to haul them through the rain.
Right.
We at least have to take them back to the car.
We have a car, yeah. Let's
take them to
I
our
was going to
car.
hold my grocery bag under my oilskin to keep it dry.
Okay.
So I don't get any of the dried goods.
Yes, let's get these supplies back to the car.
Yeah.
Try and subtly leave with my large chocolate bar, which is not easy because it's the early 1930s. So a large chocolate bar in the early 1930s is basically A4.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like trying to keep that stash.
Let's go back to the house, drop off these supplies, and then we'll decide if we want to go back out again in the rain.
You'd think that the geologists would have returned to their house by now if the weather's like this up there.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Well, maybe we can get everyone together for dinner then.
So, on our way back, if that's what we're doing, if we're on our way back, I say, guys, there's something I need to tell you, and I want you to promise me you won't get mad.
Why don't you tell us first, and then we'll promise after.
Look.
Hey, just fire away, sport.
This was before the mole men, and this was before the girl disappeared, and this was before the vampire stories and all of that.
What was?
Higgins and I thought that it would be fun to play a joke on you all. We made the big footprints.
Well, why didn't you tell us before?
Because it was still a joke. And
when did it stop being a joke?
well, since we've been walking around town, we got the girl missing and we've got all of these things going on, and I'm afraid that it's just confusing the issue because you brought it up just now. I'd completely forgotten about it until just now.
Well, I'm sure glad I reminded you then.
But we like took wood and we made feet out of it, and we made them into like shoes. And when you guys all went to bed the first night, we got up and we stomped around the thing. But we were surprised when we saw the little footprints. That's what got us the next morning.
Well, then I guess the joke's on everyone. Some more than others.
Are you really mad?
No.
It was kind of funny to see you guys running around making molds and shit like that, but...
Moles.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
now that is funny.
I'm actually thinking that what's his name ran home to Mom because he was afraid of Bigfoot running around. That was sorry.
Hey, it's no skin off my nose. I hadn't even arrived yet. At that point, I was still driving down with my driver.
Well, I have to admit that would be funny because if he did, he was afraid of the wrong thing. He should have been afraid of the small feet. So it seems.
Well, let's put all this stuff in the house. Now, when we arrive back at the house, is everything okay?
Yeah, it's only been a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours since you last left.
So, in case it's not intuitively obvious when we get out to load and unload the stuff, I just have, it'll take longer. I don't care that I'll get wetter, but I have the rifle, which is loaded.
Okay.
I'm not wandering around the house unarmed after the previous incident.
And I run over to my tent, which is probably wet on the outside now, and I grab my stuff and I grab Higgins' stuff, and I run it into the house. And in the process, I hold up the wooden Bigfoot shoes and show them to everybody. Are the others here yet? The geologists?
Not yet. What I'm going to say is, you guys arrive back at the house. Now would be the good time. Anybody who wants, you can start replacing the windows, boarding up the windows, like you were saying.
How about checking the house to see if anything inside has been disturbed, moved, stolen?
Yeah, nothing appears to be out of place.
Okay. Yeah, I'll help board up the windows.
Okay.
I'm going to check the door to make sure that it can be securely closed.
Those animals know who they're dealing with. Sorry.
Maybe have a look around and see if there are any holes that something could get through as well.
Okay.
We'll put boards over those too. Yeah, if there's anything. They got up on the roof though. Make sure that chimney is closed good and tight. Well, you'd want it closed anyway because it's raining outside.
So here's what I'm going to do. This is going to be a little test of your ability not to metagame, since you're playing dual characters. I'm going to jump back to the geology group for a minute.
Okay.
You basically, Blaine wandered off to phone the house, and you've been cooped up in the truck now for what seems like hours. It seems like an incredibly long amount of time, and you really thought that Blaine...
Well, how long has it really been?
I'll say...
I check my watch.
I'll say close to 3 hours then.
What's keeping Blaine? Higgins says maybe the Bigfoot got him.
Or the Moldman. Maybe he's actually had their revenge on him.
Or they were hospitable enough to share a bottle. We all know how Blaine can be.
Should we, instead of just sitting here, should we get Joe to take us down towards where the house is? See if we can find what happened to Blaine?
That sounds like a swell idea.
Do you have rocks in your mouth?
Oh, wrong. I said, I'm sorry. I was having some chewing tobacco. I said, I'm worried that something might have happened to him. He should have been back by now.
Yeah.
Well, let's go then.
Keep our eyes open. Make sure he's not like on the side of the road.
So Joe starts up the car. Joe's been nipping a little bit, so it's coming down like cats and dogs. So there's also that. He's having a hard time seeing the road ahead of him. And he gets out to the first T intersection, and he's trying to think the best way back to the house, and he makes a right, and there's a farmhouse that sits back off the road there. And he kind of like slows down, and he's like, did you want to stop here, or do we want to just continue?
Isn't this where he was headed?
I think so.
Well, let's see if he's here then.
All right. So we don't all have to get out. somebody want to get out and go up and
Good.
knock?
Who's
Yes,
going?
why don't you do that, Harry?
Ah, damn it! I'll go and do it.
All right, Rod.
I'm just going to barge my way to the front of the
Rod, Rod,
the truck
why don't
and-
you,
You and William go.
well,
You guys.
I was
finish.
going to suggest he leave the specimen if he's going to run around in the rain, but
Somebody wants your rock, Rod. Just go.
I'm really having to fight to avoid the double entendre. Right, I'm just going to defiantly I'm going to walk through the rain with my head held high as though the rain doesn't bother me at all.
Yep.
And stride over to the door of the house and knock robustly on the door.
Yep. A woman, middle age, opens the door 3 or 4 inches, looks out, sees a tall, muscular standing man in front of her, drenched, and she's, yes? Can I help you?
Good morning, Mum. We're looking for a friend of ours. We think he may have called here earlier on.
In this weather?
Yes. Just a little while ago.
No, there's been nobody here.
We must have the wrong place. We must have taken a wrong turn. And just before I go back to the bus, can I try and sneak a look over her shoulder into the house?
Sure.
What does it look like? Does it look like a well cared for house? Is it
Yep.
clean?
Yep.
And there's nothing remotely odd about it, the house, or her.
Nope.
No muddy footprints on the
Third hand coming out of her forehead, but that's
No.
we don't talk about that.
It's a friendly hand. It's waving.
One eye has a small man inside it. Just let me out. Okay, well, I'm just gonna I'll apologize for having bothered her, and tug my forelock.
She looks a little relieved, and she kind of quickly closes the door.
Just tug the brim of my varsity cap, and I'll head back to the vehicle. And
What'd she say?
she says she's never heard of him. She says he's never called here.
How long from where we were to where we are?
I'm going to say it's roughly about 3 hours. Is that what you're asking? From the time that Blaine left?
No, I'm saying how far.
How far?
Is this like something he could have walked in 15 minutes, or would it have taken him an hour to walk all the way over here?
Probably casual walking speed, maybe an hour.
So are you sure there's not another farmhouse down a different turn?
Well, we've been on this road, so is there? Or is this
Yeah,
it?
Joe, he kind of like shrugged his shoulders. I mean, there's houses scattered about, but to know which one specifically, this is the closest one that I can think of, unless he went in the opposite direction.
Well, this is presumably the first one that we've seen.
Well,
Right.
it couldn't be in the opposite direction because he wouldn't have known about it.
Yeah, we would have known which way he
Said
went.
that he knew the farmhouse, so he must be heading here.
Yep.
Should we go back towards camp and slowly and check the roadsides? Maybe he tripped and fell, or maybe he's on the side of the road somewhere.
Wouldn't we have seen him?
Well, it's raining. We could have missed him if he's all muddy. Maybe
All right. Here's where it's going to get tricky. I'm going to flash back to the folklore group,
Okay.
back at the house.
Okay.
Everybody's keeping busy doing whatever. and all of a sudden the front door swings open, and in walks Blaine, and he's drenched.
Blaine. Everybody's back?
Everybody from the folklore group is at the house.
No, but I'm asking.
I'll look over his shoulder.
Is everybody here?
See the truck behind him.
Good.
Nope. You don't see the truck. You don't see any other people. He just walks in, and he's just kind of panting, like he's out of breath.
Did you walk back?
Yeah. Well, I jogged, but yeah.
Where is everybody?
I think they're back at the dig site. I just got turned around in the storm, and I couldn't find my way back. And I eventually recognized where I was going, so I just came back to the house.
Oh. So are they expecting you to come back?
They're not back here yet?
No.
I thought for sure they'd be back here by now.
No, I mean, to be honest, we mentioned we were talking earlier on about how strange it was that they hadn't come back yet.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to wait out the storm for a little while, but...
Well, should some of us get in the car and drive in that direction and see if we meet them on the way?
I guess we should. I mean, if they haven't come back by now, they might have broken down or something, and I mean, they could be stuck out there for hours in this weather.
Who's been driving? Oh, no, Joe hasn't been driving. We've been driving. I forget who's driving.
The only one I remember for sure was Rod.
Oh,
no, Rod's not.
I know he's part of the geology. I don't remember the other.
Well, since none of us knew we were driving, let's assume William was driving.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Blaine's like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. I mean, it's nasty out there. I don't want any of us getting hurt trying to find them.
Well, hell, though, we can't leave them out there.
Well,
no, but
I mean, dash it all.
They might be looking for you. Well,
you're right. We can't just leave them there, but they could already be on their way back here. Someone has to wait here for them.
Let's wait an hour, and if they don't show up here, then somebody will drive out and see if we can, meet them halfway. And then
What time of day is it now? And how long is it from that until dark?
We'll say it's about 2 p.m.
Okay, so we got a few hours till dark.
Yeah.
Although it's already gloomy.
Right, it's dark from the storm.
Well, but look, if they should have been back by now, as long as someone's here in case they return, it doesn't do much good just waiting longer, does it? I don't mind taking a car out. Jasper, you want to come with me? Anyone else?
No, I think Wayne has a good idea. Like, why don't we wait like at least an hour? We don't need us to go out and them actually coming back. Like,
they might show up.
Road or something like that, and then we're out there searching.
Well, some of us, but we don't all have to go.
There's only one road, so
at the very least, I could do with a little while to dry out from our last expedition. I'm still a little bit down.
Let's just get things ready here and wait for them.
Yeah. Do we have a pile of dry firewood?
Oh yeah.
Indoors. Okay. I'll get a fire started.
All right.
And I'll start to light some of the lanterns that we brought.
That'll keep the mole men out. They can't come down the fireplace with a fire in it.
That's a good idea. All right, so with that knowledge being known, we're going to jump back to the geology group now. And I'm just going to sum it up by saying you guys are concerned. You don't know at the time what Blaine did.
Right.
So, like you said, for all you're thinking, he's missing. But eventually it comes to kind of a collective group thinking where, I mean, you don't know where he is, so spending time to look for him out in the middle of the woods on these dirt roads during a nasty rainstorm, you're asking for a lot of trouble by doing that. So the consensus is he said he was going to maybe that he was trying to contact the house, so maybe he went back to the house.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
In this amount of time, he could have jogged all the way back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's.
Oh, he could have got a ride
Yeah.
with a passing car. It's easily done, you know.
Let's.
A buddy of mine got a lift all the way from Dearborn, Michigan, to South Dakota. Imagine that.
Wow.
All in one car. Said the guy was a bit of a greaseball, but still.
Well, let's go back.
Cheaper than Greyhound.
See if they're there. And if they're not there, then we're going to have to go to the police.
Okay, so everybody's in the truck. Joe's driving. It's raining. He's heading back to the house. You're approaching the edge of town there, and there's, I don't know if you remember the map, but there's a bridge that goes across the river, the Gizman River.
Cobb Bridge.
Yep.
The Deerfield River.
Joe kind of slows up a little bit because he notices that the water levels are rather high on the river. So it looks like he's kind of trying to second guess himself. But he kind of like shrugs his shoulders and he starts to take off.
Okay.
He gets onto the bridge and the bridge shudders, and suddenly the back end, from the direction that you had just came, gives way. And the bridge kind of starts to float a little bit on the water, and then it drops. So the rear end drops down behind you. And now the truck that you're in, is starting to slide down the bridge now into the water.
Gun it! Gun it!
He guns it, and the tires are spinning, but it's not getting traction.
Now, is this bridge really narrow? Is there room where we can get out and onto the stable part of the bridge? Or would we, if we open the doors, would we just fall into the river?
Yeah, at this point, the truck has now slid into the water, so the water's now rushing all around the truck. So it's not like you're sinking any further. It's just that if you were to open the door, the water will just come rushing through the door. It's going to eventually leak in, but for the split moment that you're in right now, there's no water inside the truck.
Holy shit. Well, can we try to break out the front window and then climb out onto the hood and make a jump for it?
Yeah, you can.
That's kind of what I'm going to do. I can't think of anything else. Otherwise, we're going to get swept away.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you're going to start doing that, then if I see Higgins smashing out the windscreen, and I'm going to start grabbing people.
Yeah. We got to get out.
Ferrying them towards him. Come on, let's go. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. Move, or we'll all drown.
All right.
I'm gonna start looking around and make sure no one's hiding between the seats.
So I've smashed out the windshield, if that's okay.
Sure.
And then I'm helping him push people, girls first, whatever. Whoever is next to me goes first, and then the next person, out onto the hood so that they can, I don't know how the situation, if they can jump to what's left of the bridge and then scramble onto land.
Okay.
Okay. So how many people do we have with us?
So let's say there's the four of you. Hang on. Let's see if we can figure this out real quick. Who do we have? We have William. We have Jason is in the folklore. We have Terrence is in the folklore.
No, we have Charisse.
Yeah.
She's the geologist.
Sure.
Charlie.
Right. She's in the geology group. Oh, right. I sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which group is Clarissa with?
Folklore. No. Wait. Which one's Clarissa?
The one Blaine's always hitting on.
Oh.
She's with us.
She's geology. Yep.
Yeah.
So she's with you.
Okay.
So you got Clarissa, you got Harold or Harry Higgins,
Yeah.
you got Rod, you got Blaine, and you got Louie. And then Joe.
And Harry's trying really hard to get everybody out before he comes out.
So
Lewis has frozen in panic. It makes it easier to seem like he's being chivalrous to let the girls go first, but really he is immediately beyond his wits to even consider that this is happening at all. So he might be the last one out of the vehicle.
No, I'll grab him and push him out. Lewis, snap to it.
So I'm going to give you two options.
Okay.
It looks like if you got a nice sort of a, not a running leap, but like a 1 or 2 step leap, you might be able to make it to the very edge of the creek or the bank. There's rocks there, so it's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to let you either decide. You could either do a dex roll, Wayne, or you can do a swim roll and try to swim through the water, which is going at a high rate of speed.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to go for the dex.
deadly. I'm Higgins, so I don't know what my dex is.
Just use your character's dex.
Oh, cool.
Well, you know, on the face of it, I honestly can't see what could possibly go wrong with the swimming option.
Well, I didn't make my.
I mean, it seems completely safe to me. I mean, I can't think of any occasion on which I've ever played this game and something nasty involving water has ever happened to a character of mine. So,
Rod, you're the big strong one. You need to get onto the bank and then catch people as they make a leap for it.
yeah, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to, in my mind at least, I'm going to quickly check that there's no one left in the vehicle, and I'm going to bound out onto the hood of the truck, and I'm going to hurl myself across towards the bank.
Okay. You know, I heard, Charlie, did you roll already?
Yes, I got a 64 out of 60. Thank you.
Ooh, 4 points. Right, so 4 points. So you want to luck it? Spend luck?
I can do that. Yeah, sure.
All right, so you leap. It's a little scary, but you catch, land on a rock, and manage to get safely to the shore. Rod, before you leap, I want to say, is anybody thinking about Joe?
I'm thinking that Joe is obviously drunk and this is all his fault.
When I was searching the vehicle, that would have included him as well. That would have been like anyone at all left in the vehicle.
Okay. So he's a little bit tipsy and he's a little bit on the older side. So he's kind of like not sure what he wants to do. He doesn't think he can make that leap. While all this is happening, I'm gonna say this all made a horrible sound. The bridge crashing in the river. Some of the townsfolk nearby heard this. They looked out their window. They saw this. They called the sheriff. The sheriff and the deputy are now aware of the situation. The sheriff knows that it's you guys in that truck. So he actually drives to the house, knocks on the door, and it's not even really a question. He just kind of like, listen, all your friends are in trouble. They fell into the river. I need your help. Bring your cars. We're going to try to tow that truck out of the river. And he kind of pauses like to make sure that you all are snapping to it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Jerry, how many cars do we have left at the house?
I think there's 2 cars at the house.
And Blaine has all the keys, right?
Mhm.
Except for the one we were driving before. William would have the keys to that one, right? So I guess Jerry...
We grab our cars and
probably,
go.
yeah. Well,
we'll need ropes as well.
I'm specifying something because I don't want to have a problem with Blaine.
Okay.
Right. Because I was riding with William before, I guess it would be normal that I would just go to the same car, and so I'll wait until Blaine is like distracted going to his car, and so then myself and my rifle, which is still loaded, are going to the car that William was driving before.
Okay.
Assuming William is still driving.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Is there anybody not going? Okay. So, cut back to the scene. You guys will arrive shortly. Charlie's across. I'm not sure who you are anymore. Tug. Are you Tug, or are you somebody? Are you Harry?
I'm Harry at the river, and I'm Tug coming to the river.
Okay. Harry, what are you doing? Are you jumping? Or are you swimming? Or are you?
I'm also leaping. Actually, I rolled for that. I got a 50 out of 70. So
okay, nice.
I made it. And then I'm trying to catch people as they're coming.
Sure.
Come on, Joe. Come on.
Jerry / Lewis, what are you? You jumping, swimming?
Well, Lewis is probably still frozen in indecision. Does anyone prompt him or have any particular care for the fact he's standing there like shaking like a leaf?
Well, Jasper said that Rod said that he was making sure everybody was leaving.
Okay, well then
probably the ice water is hitting me too. So.
Okay, well that's a good cue. And if Rod is catching people,
at some time you will feel a big hand on your back.
Okay, so I guess jumping it is then.
Right.
If you want me to use Jerry's stats, which may or may not be plausible, but I guess Lewis could have a high dexterity. He's maybe more with fingers than the rest, but even so, I rolled well and got a hard. That's the second best success, right?
Yep.
So Lewis got a hard success.
Okay. Yep. So no problem. He leaps off the hood of the truck and lands safely on the bank.
There. See, you barely got wet.
And
right.
Now we just have Rod and Joe still on the truck.
Well, I have leapt, and my dexterity, if we're using Jasper's dexterity, is 80. He's a very dexterous little slip of a chap. Unfortunately, I've rolled 81. Can I use luck?
Sure.
Okay. I am going to spend a point of luck.
Any point. Big spender.
And I desperately scramble onto the bank.
Yeah.
Coughing up some water.
So I guess Jasper is like Rod's lucky charm. When Jasper comes to the game, Rod does better.
So Joe is the only person left on the truck?
So Joe's the only one in the truck now, and at this point we'll say that the other folklore group has arrived, so everybody's here. You've got the two cars. What would you like to do?
Look, we've got to secure the
car.
Right. Well, Jerry thinks he's a pretty good swimmer, and if Joe looks like he can't make the leap, Jerry is gonna. Who else is in the car with Jerry and William?
Doesn't matter. The cars have arrived. You guys are all out.
Well, okay, fine. Jerry hands the rifle to William, makes sure he doesn't lose it in the water or lose it, right?
Okay.
Leaving it in the car maybe is okay. He's less worried about it. I'm sure he trusts William not to lose our only weapon. Speaking of not metagaming, yes. And then Jerry strips off whatever clothes are necessary to help Joe swim to safety. Jerry thinks he's a good swimmer.
You can't get in that water, Jerry. The current's too strong.
That man can't make the leap, and he certainly can't
Throw
swim.
him a rope and have him tie the rope around himself. We can pull him in.
All right. I do like he suggested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have to
Joe,
like
tie
make a
that rope
throw
around him.
check or something? No? Okay.
How about Tug? Why don't you throw it?
All right. So
Do a dex or a throw, whichever you have better skill.
oh, my dex is excellent, but what's my throw? My throw's pretty good too. Let's see. 99.
I knew it. Well,
I would have to spend
you throw the rope.
29 points to get
You
it.
throw the rope, but you realize you forgot to hold on to the other end. So you
So it's
throw the
my
whole
fault.
thing, and now the whole rope is sitting there on the hood of the truck.
I told you to hold on to the rope.
I didn't know you were going to throw it yet.
Well,
Well, now what? Do we have another rope?
I'm going to leap back across to the truck.
Okay.
I being Rod.
Okay.
Oh, that's going to be harder going the other direction. You're going up.
Well, I just rolled an 11.
Oof. Like a Superman leap.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're like, swing. All right.
And I'm going to tie the rope to he's a football player. He's a very masculine sort of man. He knows where you tie a rope on the front of a truck. He knows what it's called, and that's where he's going to tie it.
Why don't you tie it around Joe? Throw the
'Cause
other end back.
he weighs less than the truck.
I mean, that is, unless I'm misunderstanding, the option here is to either get Joe off the truck, or you two can wait it out on the truck and then hopefully get pulled safely out of the river by the other two cars.
Well, my plan at the moment was to tie a rope to the truck and throw that across.
Okay.
Okay.
And
And then use the rope.
then they can tie that to another vehicle, and even if they can't drag us out, they could at least use that other vehicle to maintain enough tension on the rope that we can just get Joe to just
Wade.
just pull himself, or even I could be on the rope with him and get him
All right.
across.
All right, good. I like it.
All right.
All right, here's what's going to happen. That plays out nicely. Tie the rope off. We've got a nice taut rope. Joe's very hesitant to get in that cold, rushing water, but he eventually works up enough nerve. He gets in the water. The current kind of swipes his feet out from under him, but he's hooked onto the rope with his arms, and he's managing pretty well. Are you going to go with him then?
Oh yeah. I'm going to keep holding him the whole way.
Yep. So you got to grab on his coat. You're making your way slowly across the river. Could everybody do a spot hidden for me?
Don't you worry, old fella. I've got you. Seven.
Ooh.
I pass.
Pass. I got a 19.
60.
I failed.
7 out of 60. So I'm that's an extreme.
Tug and Charlie, you each passed, right?
Yes.
Yes. Charlie, where are you standing? Like, how are you helping in any way? Or are you just kind of taking a little bit more observation?
I'm taking observation. I'm not very strong physically, so.
Right. That's what.
And
That's what I didn't mean that as a slight. I just meant, you're not exactly the Tug or Rod type.
yeah,
person.
Roberts.
Yep. Tug, how about you? Where are you at?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was the question?
I'm just trying to get a sense of where you at, or what are you doing as all this is unfolding.
Well, I've probably got my hand on one end of the rope. I know it's tied.
Yep.
taut, but I'm standing there ready to. As soon as they get within arm's reach, I'm going to grab them and pull them in.
Okay, gotcha. And Jerry, where are you at? What are you doing?
I'm next to Tug, and I'll certainly help with the rope. But I'm also ready to. I guess I'm trying to pay attention to what else might go wrong. So if I have to run somewhere else, or I know Tug said I can't handle the water, but if somebody starts to float away, I'm the only one who's prepared to jump in and rescue somebody if I had to try.
My feet are in the water, but they're just in 5 inches of water.
Right. Okay.
That's probably why I miss the roll, because I'm paying very close attention to just what my friends are doing.
Yeah. So Joe and Rod are making their way slowly across the water. The water's going by real fast. It's torrent. I'm trying to think of the word. It's going by fast. As this is happening, though, something catches your eye in the water. It's floating. It's floating down the stream, and it's going just beyond the far side of the truck. So it's not necessarily right near by you, but it's something you can see kind of going in the water. And when you first saw it, it looks like a tree fell over, and a tree branch maybe is just barely submerged, because it looks like a lot of black, dark, shaped tree branches, right?
Right.
Tug and Charlie, I'm going to say that's what you saw. So it's something you noticed. It's not necessarily something that drew too much attention.
Looks like debris of some sort.
Jasper, I'm going to say you were the one that rolled the 11, right? Or were you rolling?
I thought he rolled a 7.
I rolled a 7.
7, right. Okay. You see the same thing as them. You see this sort of black tangle of, looks like tree branches. But there's 2 other things that you see. You would swear that the one tree branch that kind of bobs up out of the water for a split second, it looks like it has a claw or a hook. And it's shiny. I mean, it's wet, obviously, but it's very shiny. And then there's something else about it, just a little bit to the side of it, a little bit further downstream direction. You ever jump in the swimming pool with a t-shirt on, and the air bubbles come up under your t-shirt, and you get that bubble float sort of thing? You see something like that, kind of bubbly, floating, air pockety sort of looking thing, but it's kind of gross looking. It's like a whitish pink color, looks like skin.
Okay, well, at one and the same time, I'm registering that I've seen this, but I'm really unable to concentrate on anything other than getting Joe across to the bank at the moment. But
no, wait, was it Jasper or Rod?
Glancing Rod. I'm
right, but wasn't it? Oh, so okay.
So I'm going to continue just when I can, just glancing back at them, these 2 objects, just kind of, more to reassure myself that they're not getting any closer.
They're floating downstream, and they're going pretty fast in the current.
Okay. So they have no motive force other than the current.
Right. And at this point, Joe and Rod are starting to get their feet underneath of them, and they're starting to climb up onto the shore.
Okay, as soon as I've got my solid footing, I want to turn around and see if I can still see those things that were floating past.
Yep, you see it, kind of bobbing in the water. Just now.
I'm going to point them out to the others.
Oh, I'm too busy trying to grab Joe and Rod.
What in the Sam Hill is that?
When he points it out, is it possible to recognize it?
It's just debris.
Yeah, I'm going to say anybody who takes the time to look, it sounds like Tug is just concentrating on what's happening. So But Jerry or Charlie, if you want to actively look, you will see the same thing that Jasper saw.
That's mighty strange debris. Is that maybe some kind of dead animal? If it is, it's been skinned.
Oh, who knows for this? It might be some kind of maybe some kind of river creature or something, some kind of weird fish. Who knows? I mean, if it gets rotten and full of gases, it could. I guess that's what it could be.
Suddenly, Jerry, behind you, you hear Blaine sort of cry out, and he slips and falls in the mud, and he knocks your feet from under you. And you take a tumble, and you're caught up in the swirl of the river.
Okay. Does that require any type of swim check?
Are you going to swim? Yes.
Well, I would prefer to swim than the alternative, which...
Yep.
Is there a chance of grabbing at him as he goes in, or does it happen too quickly?
I will give you a dex roll for that. Yep.
Okay.
Is he in a place where I could also grab at him? Although I'm already trying to grab for Joe, I guess.
Yeah, I think you were pretty much focused on Joe at the point.
Right.
Well, I just rolled 96, so...
but I rolled a hard success. Now, is it permissible to spend luck to turn a hard success into a special success, or can you only spend luck to change a failure into a success?
No, you can, but I'll be honest with you, I don't.
It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Okay, so I have a hard success.
Yep. Remind me again. Is your character one of the swimmers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So am I in enough control over myself that I can still see where the weird thing is?
Well, in sort of this flurry of new activity where you got knocked into the water raged further down the stream, the thing bobbed in and out, and now it's sort of disappeared, and you can't quite take it out.
Oh, well, at least I didn't disappear.
Right. And I think with that, we'll probably end it there.
Oof. Freezing cold in the water.
Someone put a blanket around Joe, quick. He'll catch his death.
Yeah, we all will. Our players included Ch1, Wayne Worthy, George Sieg, and myself, with Jeff Wilkins as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in our description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We really enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have, but we do try to keep them spoiler-free. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.